Okay, it is me, NBT SKY. So you know the last go round of this, the reading came up mute for the whole 9 minutes. Popped up the night before, I mean later on that evening or in the AM, and it was drama. All right, so because I actually saw a video on a story and took interest into the Brianna Taylor story, right? The question overall is, what was she thinking in general, because it did not make any sense. So that's what we're looking at in the numbers. The rest of the story we're going to get when it's time to look at the cards in the bone throw, which is still taking place later at 8. So I will see you in a couple of minutes. Let's look at the board. All right, so let's get into it. The state is Jacksonville. I mean, it's this started in Jacksonville, Florida, and from the dates that I got, it was 2019, which brings us in the overall energy of Jupiter. So we have Jacksonville, Florida. That's Uranus and Neptune. I did not break the numbers all the way down because it wasn't necessary. We've seen previous videos and you see how that flow goes. So anyway, Jacksonville breaks down into 7. So you got Uranus, Neptune, and you have Florida that breaks down into 1, which brings you to the sun. You have Pluto, Mars, and the sun in its lowest vibration. So you got Pluto in its highest vibration, Mars in the mid vibration, and then you have the sun in the low vibration. So what you're about to see is that throughout this whole entire situation here, you have the sun in the low vibration, the sun in the low vibration, and the sun in the low vibration. So if you want to look at this like in tarot, you're going to look at this probably in its most negative aspect, which is, transition, passing on, not being able to see things in a clear manner. Or, you can look at it based on the rays of sun. So how bright is the sun? A medium and a low. Is in the low all the way across the board for this particular reading. Now, where the little girl Taylor was found is in Alabama. So you got Saturn sitting there, the salt of the earth, stabilization. That was required, right? It's required to get that done. Now, when you're looking at the date that she's found, that's what's Scorpio. So we have the 11 and 2, the master. We have Jupiter, and for the day, and for month and day we have Mercury, and then of course we know the overall year is 2019. This is Google's dates, so don't quote me. So it throws us into Jupiter. So if we knocked it out, we have this intuition that's definitely going to be necessary, even though there's investigation. There's still intuitive behavior, things being revealed that's not hidden. So if you're looking at that in tarot, I usually, like I tell y'all before, I usually look at that like the high priestess. Anyway, so then we got who else is up here? We have Mercury. Now remember, when you're dealing with Jupiter, you're dealing with fire energy, you're dealing with creativity, you're dealing with the communicator. Who else? And growth. That's the overall energy, period. I'm not gonna break this all the way down because we're gonna get into the tarot of it all and the bone throw, and so it's gonna be fun. Now there was one other thing I wanted. All right, we're looking at Mercury, right? So we got flexibly change, freedom, and sensation. All of that was taken away any old ways. There was a change in that whole situation, from her possibly being alive to, all right, she passed away, to this woman, her mother, being a free individual with top-notch everything in the Navy and so on and so forth. So now she's not, she's doing life in prison. So, and flexibility, well, that's all over, because according to the video, she wasn't very flexible or communicative in a situation. So now, when you look at Brianna, this is her whole name, Brianna Shantae Williams, and she's an Aries, so that brings you back into fire signs. Now, remember, the overall question that I asked myself was, what was she thinking? And so when you look at the Aries, this is where they sensitive at. According, if you're dealing with zodiacs and chakras, they're sensitive in the head area, the face area, eyes, brain area. So that pretty, in other areas too, but that, if you focus on that, that's answering the question. So now, bringing us back into her name. So we have Mercury again. We have Saturn, we have Mercury down here, we have the Sun. I don't know why I told y'all Mercury before, but remember, before I do this, we don't have to really focus on this very much, but just think, Jacksonville, Florida, you got them in the highest frequency of Pluto, right? That's transformation, selflessness, compassion, and endings. And that was the beginning of what was going on. And you have this warish energy. So, they kind of manage over there anyway, regardless of the fact. And then you have the Sun coming in a low vibration. Not saying that they low vibration over there, but that's how it just landed out over there. Now, let's focus on the fact that we have the high number, which breaks down into 5, the mid number, which breaks down into the 5, and then we still have the low number. So this all solidifies Mercury's energy, right? And so we have 2 in there. The flexibly change of freedom and sensation, which is going to match the situation regardless. It matches in a month and day. So that was going to take place in her life according to these numbers and the way it's broken down, regardless of the fact. And then I still find that to be weird with the Sun number, but it's cool. So now we have Taylor Rose Williams, who's an Aquarius. This is an air energy. Aquariuses can be very sensitive. I know one personally. So they can be very sensitive, but they can also grow into this stubborn energy. Her being a female, Taylor being a female, and being little, she's hypersensitive. Regardless of the fact, she would have been hypersensitive regardless, and still needy for attention regardless, especially because of her age, right? So, of course, we have this Mars energy that matches. Both of them have the same last name, so they're going to both have the same Mars energy. And if you break that down real quick, if you want to just look to see if it's going to still match, 8 plus 8, 16, 1 plus 6 is 7, so you still got Jacksonville. So the numbers is still going to match regardless in that order. Now, you see Taylor, she's in the high frequency of Jupiter. So that means that whether it's then or later on in her life, she would have been probably one of those to be very open in communication and very creative, and would have been able to express herself openly if she wasn't so hypersensitive in a particular situation, the state that she was in, right? And then so we got Jupiter double 2 times. So it would have been, she would have still had the balance between that, being little, going into teenage life, going into adult life, but you still have this low Sun number, so it's kind of gloomy, that transition death kind of thing that's associated. Meanwhile, you have, her first and her last name comes into the 4, which is Saturn, right? And that matches Alabama. So now we can all see how these numbers land, and we can all see that Brianna, if we're dealing with numbers and the chakras and the zodiacs, her sensitive area is the head. So now when we do this bone throw / this tarot reading, we're gonna find out exactly, or we're gonna try to find out from the energy, what was it that she was exactly thinking or not thinking, or what triggered the head period to act a fool, because that's technically what took place. Anyway, it is me, NBT Sky. I will see y'all at 8 for the bone throw / the tarot reading, smooches, and all that other good stuff. Deuces.